Hello, I'll be showing you some tips and tricks for drawing in BurrTools. We will start with BurrTools here. This video will basically cover everything in the Entities tab here. So let's get started. So when you open up BurrTools, it starts in the Entities tab as we see it here. We also have the Puzzle tab and the Solver tab. I won't be covering those today. So we'll go back to Entities. The first section here we see for shapes. We'll be putting some shapes in here. I'll go ahead and click New. When I do that, we'll see something pop up down here, New. And we see that it starts with a 6 by 6 by 6. We can see on the right that I can move it around. I haven't drawn anything, so I'm just moving the axis. When I clicked on New, it gave me an S1. If I click New multiple times, we get S1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are all blank. Doesn't really help to make a bunch of blanks right away. Just wanted to show you that. Delete, 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 delete. They go away. We can also name these. One thing you might want to do with your first shape is label, call it solution. One thing that you can do. You can call it anything you want. When I make a puzzle, sometimes I start with the solution. Anything you want, you can do it right there. Going down, we will have the edit area. And we start with 3 tabs: size, transform, and tools. Most of the time you'll be in the size. Size lets you choose the grid size. Right now it's 6 by 6 by 6. And we can see that down here, 6 across, 6 tall, and then a Z of 6. So we can see how that moves around here. There's a keyboard shortcut I'd like to tell you about. When I'm on the very bottom layer, I can press the plus, and it goes to the second layer, plus, 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 minus, 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 goes all the way through the layers. That's something that I can demonstrate in a little bit too. Let me show you, first of all, just some simple drawing techniques. Now, depending on your setup, you may either be defaulted to this blue or this blue. One of these, this one, will let you just drag a highlighted box around, and we can see on the right that it will draw a full rectangle across. Let it go. Now that's just on the first layer. I'll press plus on my keyboard, goes to the second layer, and do another layer there, plus, and another layer there. The other thing I wanted to show you is the alternate drawing method. I can click on that, and this one, instead of drawing a box, wherever you drag your mouse, it will drag. If I wanted to do something of a diagonal line across, I can do that. Perfect. So that was rectangle on the left, and just regular on the right here. All right, let's take a look at some other things. So generally, you can draw whatever you like with either the rectangle or the non-rectangle. A normal left click will put down some voxels. A right click and drag will erase those voxels. As I right click, I can erase those. I can do that with the single voxel tool, and I can do that with the rectangular voxel tool. All right, so we have different types of voxels, either solid voxels with the default red here. As I draw those, we'll see that they fill in solid. We have another type of voxel called a variable. I can either press F6 on my keyboard to switch, or I can just click on it. And then when I draw variables. We can see those on the left, we can see those on the right. All right, so some other tools here. Let's take a look. I'll go ahead and erase these with my right mouse button, right drag, erased. We have the third one, remove voxels from shape. This is another way that, just like my right click, I can use this tool to erase. First, I'll draw with the left, or F5, draw, and I'll click on this and erase. We also have colors. Now, I haven't added any colors. I'll go ahead and add some colors down here. When I click add, we can add colors. We're always going to start with just default color. Nothing fancy about that. Most of your puzzles won't need it. But for aesthetics or for constraints, we can add colors. If I have different grains of wood, maybe an orange grain, I can add that. If I have a more dark brown grain of wood, I can add that too. So as we are drawing our normal voxels, they will end up with whatever color we have selected here. Some dark brown voxels, if I click on regular and draw here, you see that these are noted as dark brown voxels. It's a good time to show you too. When I start doing colors, I also like to change it down in the bottom right. I can click on this second little blue box, and that actually shows me the colors that I've chosen. Useful aesthetically if you have different grains of wood or for constraints. We also have some other curious things down here. These are useful if you have a pair of 3D glasses. You can click on this and you'll see it starts to go weird 3D. Most people don't have 3D glasses, so I will not do that. Back to either the default view first or the view I like for colors, the second view. Okay, so uh, I mentioned this fourth box here, F8, would let you change the constraint color of voxels. I'm going to go ahead and choose C1. That's my lighter orange. And I will click on this button. And if I drag a box through this whole thing, it should change all of them to this new color. Whether it was default before, whether it was dark brown before, it changes them all. It does not add any new voxels. It doesn't delete any voxels. Let me show you what I mean by that. Same button, F8, same color, C1. Well, let's actually do C2 now. If I draw a box starting up here, it's not going to add those voxels. It will just change the colors. All right, let's clean this up here. I will right-click to drag out, remove everything, and let's see what our next shape is, mirroring. If I can toggle either left mirror, Y mirror, sorry, X, Y, or Z mirroring. Let's do X, and I will click on my F5 normal voxel. If I put a voxel here, 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 we see that it mirrors right through. I can also do Y. Let's go ahead and erase those. I'll do Y and X. We can combine these. Right now I have it combined. 1, 2, 3. So there's nothing wrong with just clicking all of these. Let me show you that. There's nothing wrong with just clicking these yourself. If that's what you're comfortable with, you can. But to save yourself some time, you can 1, 2, 3, just do it like that. So it works for left click, it works for right click, just anything you need. I mentioned that you can combine them. We can even do Z. If I draw something on the bottom layer, it will draw something on the top layer too. Bottom layer and top layer. It's all there. All right, so let's go ahead and erase these. I'll turn this off. It's hard to see whether it's checked on or checked off, but now it's good. Now we can look at drawing in different layers. I find the Z to be the most useful. And what I mean by that is if I hover over here, you'll see on the right that it will draw a line all the way through, just like that. I find it useful for making a solid shape, solid cube, or erasing a solid shape, or making a solid shape and then erasing just the middle. Makes a nice little frame. So that's Z. Some others that you might like. Let's go ahead and erase this. X, maybe that's useful to you. If I have both X and Z selected, we can make a T. So if I make a T here, 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 now we have just a T going all the way through. Maybe useful, maybe not. It's up to you. I find that the Z tends to be the most useful one for me. All right, so let's talk about some of the options here. We can see that I have a 6 by 6 by 6 grid. If I wanted to do 12 by 6 by 6, I type 12, either tab or click, and it commits to a 6 or 12 by 6 by 6. So I can change these as I like, 12 and 12. Perfect. So now this shape has 12. I'll set it to just free draw. I can draw a nice little shape like that. All right, let's go ahead and erase that. Switch to rectangle draw, erase it. So I'd like to show you some of these up functions. I can grab this and drag it to the left to shrink it down, down, down. If I drag it to the right, it grows or shrinks. That's a better view. I can link these. If I have a 2x2, actually, let's try 2x3, type it. If I link these, if I enlarge one, it will enlarge the other. 2x3 right now, if I drag either one, 6x7, 7x8, 8x9. So it's not proportional, it's absolute values as it increases. That's useful. If I had this checked, apply to all shapes, this is going to apply for any size changes, transformation changes, or tool changes. And it will apply to any shape that I have defined. Right now, I just have a single shape, so it doesn't really do much. So I will uncheck that. Let's take a look at some of my options here. Minimize size of grid. If I have just a very simple shape here, I don't need it to be 3x4x5 just for this tiny little shape. If I click this, it should shrink it down to a 3x3x1. All right. Let me show you another thing. I'll fill this in, make it nice and solid. If I try to minimize size of shape, let's see if that works on a 3x3x3. If you have a very solid shape, it should be able to shrink it down. But it's only a single layer high, so it won't. I'm going to make this a 3x3x3. And now I see that I have layer 1, layer 2, layer 3. All right, since I have a very cubic shape, I should be able to minimize this down to a single voxel. Click on this. Now I'm a single voxel. We can do more complicated shapes too. If I have 3x4x5. Let's say I have something a little bit more complicated. Maybe it's going to look like this, 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 this. Okay. Let's do this. Oop, not that. This. So I'm drawing something that is going to obviously have some divisible by 2 characteristics. 2x2x4. If I were to shrink this, I should expect to get a 1x1x2. 1x2x2. Let's see. Shrink it. So it's only going to work in those kinds of cases. A very similar thing I can do is multiply by 2. So this should get me back to the shape I was at before, just like that. Let me show you something else that you should know. I can click on this if it's a nice solid shape, and it shrinks it down back to normal. But if I take even 1 pixel out, and I try to shrink this down, it's not going to want to do that because there is no smaller shape that would still have that divot. So that's how that works. Let's see. We can also center the shape inside the grid. Right now, well, let's actually grow this grid. 6x6x6. So you'll see that this shape is tucked away into the bottom left corner of the grid on every layer. If I center it, then it will center it left and right, up and down, and on the z-axis. My bottom layer is blank, my top layer is blank, because the shape is in the middle. So I can also tuck it back into the corner with the move to origin. Same shape, just gets shoved down into the corner. So it's on the bottom layer, all the way left, all the way bottom. Center again, tuck again. All right, so we have another feature, grow it by a multiple of 3. Let's see that. This is going to be useful if you have a simple shape, but you find that you need it to be more complex. Let's do a nice example. I like a 6x6x6 grid. Let's erase everything. I'll set it to Z. I'll erase everything. All right. So one example I like to use is for a 6 by 6 burr, we would have one layer solid and then one layer looking like that. All right. So this is a fine shape if we're doing a 6 by 6 burr, and we can fill in the middle just like that to make it a unique burr piece. But if I find that I want to do something extra fancy with this, I can grow it by 3. That will let me get in here and start breaking this up in possibly some unique ways. One, whoop, 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 2, and 3. So now it's a traditional burr piece, but with a twist. I recommend not clicking this too many times or you will have too many pieces. If I do grow it and I think it was a mistake, let's go ahead and grow that. It's too much. I should be able to minimize it since everything is divisible by 3. And I should get back to where I was. It's also a good idea as you're making these pieces, doing this work, to save your work. There are times that you'll find that BurrTools will just crash for no good reason. Save your work. Click on File, click on Save, give it a unique name, you're good to go. If it crashes, you can get back to where you were. So I showed you the options here, how to link these. Let's move over to Transform. Transform, so it may not make a big difference just to move this single piece around, but I can flip on the x-axis, y-axis, z-axis. This is going to be more convenient if you are making duplicate pieces, but mirrored. For example, I have just this piece right now. We'll just call this piece A. If I wanted to have both A and a mirror called B, I could copy this piece, label it B, and now I can flip this. So now as I toggle between A and B, I see that I have A and B as mirrors of each other. Perfect. We have flip on each axis. We have nudge. This, yeah, you might find reasons that you would want to nudge your pieces left and right, left, 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 right, right, right. Perhaps you wanted to add a little bit extra off the right side of the piece. You can nudge the piece left. That gives you plenty of room to add on to the right. One thing to keep in mind, as you nudge too far to the right, the piece leaves and it does not come back again. As I nudge left, it's gone. So save your work. We can nudge left to right, up and down, and Z up and down. We can also rotate. Let's go ahead and free draw something here. All right, a perfect square. I can rotate this. To me, it looks best if I start with the Z, rotate to the right, and it just rotates around and around. If I wanted to do Y-axis, same thing. Perfect. And X-axis. This can be convenient in a couple ways. Let's say you want to draw something, and you want to draw something similar, but on another axis. Currently, you can only draw on the Z-axis, but if I flip it Y, then that lets me basically draw on this axis. Flip it Y back again, and I should be able to see that I've drawn squares on both axes. It'll take some getting used to figure out what you just did when you clicked the button. But if you're careful and observant, you should be able to do just about anything. All right, so that is the transform tools. Let's take a look at the tools here. So let's clear my shape. I'm going to do Z-axis, Make sure I'm drawing rectangles and get rid of everything with my right mouse button. Oh, okay. So uh, make sure to save your work because some of this does tend to crash. I'm going to set this down to a 6 by 6 by 6. I'm going to show you an instance where it might crash. All right, we'll start with fill holes. So when I draw a solid box, actually I have my Z toggle. So whoop, put this back. I have my Z toggle. I'll draw a solid box. I'll empty the box. I will go to my bottom layer to turn off my Z, draw a solid inside box. You see that it's now box shaped. I'll fill in the top. So I know that this box is hollow. I know that if I were to click on tools and fill holes, this should fill that hollow box. But, I said but. Well, okay. Sometimes it does, sometimes it crashes. It's my lucky day, it did not crash. Okay, cool. Um, good. So it also didn't fill it. Well, that's too bad. Let's start over. Click new, start over, all my Z, empty it out, bottom layer, turn off my Z. So I have a box shaped, fill it in. So I have a hollow box, fill holes, crashes the program. So make sure to save your work. That's okay. I was expecting that. Let me show you a shape that will not crash. Let's do a shape. We'll call it solution. Let's do a 6 by 6 burr. I know that the whoa, rectangle drawing. Okay. Z, okay. Draw the whole thing. Next layer. Turn off the Z. So this may look familiar. It's just a 6 by almost. It's almost a 6 by 6 burr. Let's intentionally hollow this out with my right mouse button. I will hollow it out all the way. So I have my tool here to fill holes. Click on that, and it fills in every layer nice and tidy. Now we can look at these other tools here. One thing that you might have to do on a puzzle like this is make the insides variable. I have a tool for that. I can click on this button, make insides variable. And now layer by layer, I can preview, and sure enough, it's variable on the inside. I can also make it fixed on the inside. Click on this once, it does it on every layer. Perfect. Okay. I can also make the outsides variable if I need to. Click on that, and all the outsides are variable. Perfect. That's not useful for this puzzle, so I will make the outsides fixed. There's also a way to remove colors from the inside or outside. Currently, I lost my colors, so that doesn't do anything. If I had a color, green, and I painted like this, I can click on this button to make the insides solid and not colored. Oh, the outsides. And then I can click this to make the insides solid and not colored, or just not colored really. Okay, so that's great. Let me show you grid scale. Grid scale is kind of funny. If I click on this, it's going to take my 6 by 6 by 6 grid and multiply it all times 5, and it does some weird things. Let's do that. Don't click it twice, or you'll have way too many pixels. So it is funny, and I don't have a very good explanation. What it usually does, if you have just a single voxel, it will hollow that voxel out and grow it by 5. If you have many voxels, oh, we get some weird things indeed. Very weird things. Let's actually open one of these up and see what it looks like. Very weird. What would we call that? Ribbing, maybe? I don't know. It's not hollow. It's not solid. Very strange. Is it useful? I don't think so. So there's not an easy way to undo that either. So I can set this to 6 by 6 by 6. One note about resizing these, it will cut off anything that was outside of that scope. The last thing I want to show you now is how to actually draw in this 3D space. So I'm just going to draw a very simple, whoops, go to my normal voxels, draw a very simple box here. I can actually draw in here. Now, if you just click, right click, left click, nothing happens. But if you look at your keyboard, Shift, Control, and Alt, we can do some interesting things. I'm going to hold Shift, and I'll click on this dark blue, it puts a voxel there. I'll click on the side of that, and it will put a voxel there. It will always add a voxel using Shift on the face that you're clicking on. This is useful. This can be dangerous. If by design, if you hold Shift and you click and wiggle the mouse, it will draw something pretty crazy here. It will also expand your area as it grows. This might be more useful if you are removing. Let's try Control. Control click removes. This is more useful for Control. If you click and wiggle, it will drill a hole through whatever you're trying to work with. I want to drill a hole here. Click, wiggle, and it's gone. Alt will add variable voxels. Variable, alternate, I guess that works. Just like that. Okay. And for this drawing, left click, right click, they both seem to do the same thing. It's all about whether you're holding Shift to add, Control to remove, Alt to do variable. All right. That is all I want to show you. Hope you have a great day.